Hello and welcome back to another Space Engineers showcase video. In today's video, we're looking at another small fighter, and this one is set up in a way that it can be easily mass produced for your carrier or for your large base to deploy and go and attack your enemies, and it's not going to be too much of a problem if it ever blew up, because it should be fairly cheap to build. So we're looking at the F-01A Spacehawk, which is this lovely thing right here. So it's a very small, very basic fighter ship featuring both rocket launchers and Gatling guns, as well as hydrogen thrusters to allow you to go around a planet or space. We've got 3 scripts on here. 1 is for the weapon salvo and 2 are for whatever you need to set up, and we've got plenty of room around the ship to attach stuff on, like more weapons and whatnot if we ever wanted to upgrade it. Pressing F10 and finding the Spacehawk in the spawn menu, there it is. This thing is 526 small blocks and it uses none of the DLC packs, and like I said, it uses the script, which is for the salvo script, which allows your rockets to fire on a pattern rather than all at once. So we'll give this a little thumbs up and move around to the very front because it's time to look around the outside. So coming all the way over to here, this is what we get. We've got ourselves front and center a hydrogen thruster to help us stop with a camera just below it. To the left and the right of the camera, we've got 4 Gatling guns to blast our enemies with. And if I just pull up and start moving to the side, we'll then see our fighter cockpit and how it's been surrounded by some steel blocks, as well as our rocket launchers to make a nice hole in the enemy ship or base. If we continue around the side here, we're going to see the bottom of a connector to allow us to load up ammunition and fuel. We'll continue around the side where we're not going to be able to see too much. We do have our blinking red and green lights on here. If I was just come around to here and tilt through this part, we can then see another hydrogen thruster to help on our left and our right, which has been housed quite nicely, so it's very protected and it has no risk of damaging your blocks. Yes, if we just come around and go further around to the back, all the way around to here, this is what we get. We can see our green light blinking over there, and we've got 3 hydrogen thrusters to push us along. If we then come up and above, we'll see an antenna to make sure we can always find this thing, and of course some more hydrogen thrusters to help us move down. If we then come around to the front, all the way down, and underneath it we can see the bottoms of our Gatling guns right there, even more hydrogen thrusters. There is our connector, and we can see the gap on the opposite side where our left and right thrusters are being housed. Yes, more hydrogen thrusters, some more blinking lights, this time underneath, and there is the back of this ship. So it's a very short, very sweet ship, very simplistic, and it's very, very compact. Yes, we'll just take a very quick look inside here. Behind our cockpit in this little lumpy part right here will be all of our internals neatly packed together with our batteries, our gyroscopes, and of course a bunch of conveyors that come across onto some programmable blocks. There are 3 programmable blocks on here, but only 1 is used. So if you have a fancy for something else on this ship, you got them ready to go and you don't need to attach them yourself. Get into my character and we'll go through the hotbar. So like I said, this thing is battery powered, so we will need to eventually come back to base and recharge ourselves via a connector, but we can always, if we want to, just go and replace something inside with a reactor in case we need that additional power. Yes, as for the hotbar itself, it's a pretty standard setup where we've got number 1 for our Gatling guns at the front there. Number 2 is for our rocket launchers on the side, which fire left to right. Number 3 is for our camera just below our hydrogen thruster to aim this straight forwards. 4 for our antenna, 5 for our connector to lock and unlock it underneath, and number 6 is for controls for our lights on the side. There we are, we just flip them off, and then we can flip them back on and they'll resume their blinking. If we go for a quick little thruster test moving forwards, this is what we get. It's not the fastest thing in the world because we are quite limited by our size, but it's perfectly suitable for a small little ship. Stopping as well, it's a bit more slower. You might need to do a 180 if you need to do a emergency stop, but again, it's not too bad for this size of ship and its general purpose. Moving left, and then moving right, we're not too bad with that. We generally got great mouse control over this thanks to its 4 gyroscopes. So we come into here and find our gyroscopes. I've already turned them down a little bit, but you could go a bit more lower if it's a bit sensitive for you. Like that is a bit more better. So we don't really need to worry about our left and right thrust as much. Yes, going forwards and just flying it around here, it's quite a nice little ship to play around with. We'll come down to my little base and start shooting it. The solar panels, I don't know why you can see the solar panels from so far away. I didn't think it was that big. We'll just come down to here and we'll start blasting it with our Gatling guns and rockets. And being I'm in survival mode, we can see that with all of our little batteries on here, we're not using that much power to fly around. And our hydrogen is slowly ticking down. We're good for flying around for a fair amount of time. Yes, there is my solar panel array, which has all been scripted up to follow the sun. Very neat little script to go with that. And of course my top secret base, which isn't really too much of a secret anymore. There goes those panels. And now we're going to fly around. I think I just reversed into something and banged the back of the ship. But as you can see there, we had a little accident. We can easily repair this up by just slapping on some more thrusters. Here we are, still perfectly fine to fly around and just blast up this little compound. Yeah, there's not really too much else to talk about with this little ship. It's just a nice little thing that I thought some people might like to download and play around with if they're trying to build a carrier and you want to deploy multiple little ships to go and fly off at your enemies and blast them with. And of course, it's always nice to have a cheap alternative to having a very fancy, expensive ship. So there'll be a link to this in the description below if you do wish to download and play around with it yourself, along with a link to the Skybox that I'm currently using. And I'll be back with another video sometime soon. Bye bye.